Yet another child is born in a ruined country. Since the middle of September, in this maternity ward in Port-au-Prince, the number of births has grown more than 50%. The middle of September, in other words, only 9 months after the January 12th earthquake.
Where do you live, ma'am?
Correia.
Is that a house?
No, it's in a campsite.
Life in a campsite. Undoubtedly, that's what this baby will know for the first years of his life. Because of promiscuity, idleness, rape, and prostitution, more than 1 woman in 10 is pregnant in this chaotic environment. Most of them are unable to feed their children. The Haitian population is exploding over the wrecked landscape. Marie-Marlène used to be a nurse. For years, she would help her friends plan their families, providing them with contraceptives. However, a week ago, she gave birth to Lance, an unwanted baby boy.
The conditions here are so bad. My oldest son is 10 years old. I did not want another child. Most of my friends have become pregnant. We cannot protect ourselves. The hospital where we had family planning has collapsed.
Lance is only 7 days old, but due to the unbearable heat, moisture, and dirt, his health has already been weakened. And just in front of this crowded campsite, where 6,000 people live, the presidential palace is still waiting to be cleared. On its railings appear the radiant smiles of presidential candidates, all claiming they can rebuild Haiti. Tonight, a candidate running for senator is campaigning on the main square. There is no crowd because there is great disappointment in the country's political class. But some activists want to believe in change.
He's my senator. He knows that we are homeless. We'll vote for you, but you should know that we are poor. You must think of us if you're elected.
The needs of the population are immeasurable, and the candidates' answers are seldom up to the challenge.
What can the elected Haitians do today with the means at their disposal?
Well, in our country's history, our people's history, I think we can fight.
You talk about limited resources. What will you do with such limited resources?
Any country. We only had the soil. Nothing. Nothing at all but the soil. No, kids, no, not there.
In fact, if elected, that candidate will have a ridiculously small margin to maneuver. Haitian authorities can do nothing without the consent of the international community. An interim commission established in late March has given almost full power to donors. In 10 months, thousands of tons of debris have been cleared from Port-au-Prince. Even if the streets are now passable, lots of work remains, and the city center has not yet recovered. In this same neighborhood, a few days after the earthquake, we had met Jimmy and his brother Billy. No more university for Billy, no more workplace for Jimmy. In their ruined world, where everyone was sleeping outside now, the future seemed uncertain.
Concerning the job market, we just don't know because almost everything has collapsed.
Today, 3 times a week, Jimmy returns at dawn proudly wearing his work clothes. He is a part-time night watchman at a Doctors Without Borders hospital. The NGO alone employs 2,700 Haitians, but Jimmy knows that this will be short-lived.
My future career for now. I fight hard so it doesn't collapse. Because all the kids see their future collapse. It's the Doctors Without Borders who gave me the job. I get paid now thanks to them.
What will happen when the NGOs withdraw from Haiti?
When the NGOs leave, there will be a very high unemployment rate.
An unemployment rate that already reaches about 70% in the country. Jimmy does not sleep outside anymore. After some consolidation work paid at their own expense, Billy and his neighbors have returned to their home.
Here, this building was collapsing. There were cracks everywhere.
People like Jimmy and Billy did not receive any assistance from the state or NGOs because the energy is focused on the emergency camps. So, as 2 million other residents of Port-au-Prince, they rebuild their lives with whatever is at hand, leaving behind lots of expectations.
I wanted to be a doctor, but it seems impossible now. I wanted to have a much more normal life, to have a house, have kids, a car, everything, to live like a normal person.
The two brothers lost their mother in the quake. Each week, they visit her grave to make sure she rests in peace. If Port-au-Prince is overpopulated, after the earthquake in January, its cemeteries also are. Looters regularly dig up bodies to sell the spaces.
You see the padlock on the gate? The one with 3 letters? That's the one I added a few days ago.
300,000 dead and more than 1 million people struggling to survive without shelter or resources. But at least in Port-au-Prince, hundreds of NGOs are hard at work, and this is where the bulk of international assistance arrives. As soon as one leaves the capital, things are quite different. We are now in Léogâne, epicenter of the earthquake, just 30 kilometers southwest of Port-au-Prince. We visit Gasnel, an engineer who had guided us through the city in January. 10 months later, the streets look the same as in the aftermath of the earthquake.
The rubble is still on the floor and there's no one to remove it.
Léogâne officially received $60 million in international aid, and yet nothing has happened. The money was meant to finance a system where people receive cash to clear their own neighborhood. Not one stone has been moved. Gasnel believes corruption has disrupted the process.
The people that the NGO contacted called their families who come to take money without doing anything.
So, in this city where nothing was left standing, people have understood that they will have to rebuild at their own expense.
With what money are you doing that?
With my money. There's no one who can help me rebuild. There's no government, there's nothing. There are many NGOs, but it means nothing. The NGOs won't help me rebuild my own shop. That's my business.
Gasnel takes us to his village, 2 kilometers from Léogâne. Here, in January, he had introduced us to Lourdie, age 13. Her leg was crushed when her house collapsed. A week after the disaster, she had taken nothing but some painkillers. We took her to the first rescue team that arrived in the region, but the prognosis was alarming.
There's nothing we can do. We don't have anything.
Finally, Lourdie was transferred to a hospital in Port-au-Prince. That was the last time we had seen her. It was a 1.5-month ordeal at the hospital, but Lourdie survived. Today, at the village, she spends most of her time immobilized. She won't ever again bend her knee.
They transferred me to another hospital, and I underwent 7 operations. It was complicated because every time it got infected.
Lourdie can no longer help her mother. Standing for long periods of time is now a torture for her.
Every time I see that Lourdie cannot help me, I have tears come to my eyes, because she used to be really active. But since the good Lord has willed it, I accept.
Lourdie now lives with her mother on the ruins of their old home. They received a tent from an NGO, but they have no money to afford a solid roof.
A tent is not what I call rebuilding. It cannot even resist water. We are forced to tie it down with ropes so that it does not fly away. I need to change my life. I need a home to resume my activities in order to help my daughter.
Today, Lourdie fights to believe that the 40 seconds the quake lasted ruined only her home and not her entire life. In spite of the pain, she walks 5 kilometers a day to go to school.
When I arrive at school, my leg's always swollen. It hurts me.
Education is another victim of the earthquake. Lourdie's neighbor and his family must now devote all their money to rebuild a small house. For now, they are still just trying to survive.
I have 10 children. I had them in elementary. Then I sent them to high school. Today, they all stay at home because I can't afford to pay for their education. All my children finished up in elementary, but I can't offer them any more. Among my children, I wanted a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a journalist, but now I can't.
10 months after the earthquake, Haiti is not rebuilding. Haiti survives. Under these tents live hundreds of thousands of idle people with no illusions about the future. This job is an incredibly heavy burden for the next government to handle.